Therapy Roulette, consent event. Trauma disguised as comedy. Therapy Roulette, consent event. If you don't have problems, then you're likely repressing shit and you should find a therapist who's not me.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of Therapy Roulette, consent event. I'm here with Jaime Chaifetz. Jaime, how's it going? How's your mood right now?
Going pretty good. Just kind of settling into the evening and feeling, pretty normal.
Oh yeah, because you're on East Coast time, so it's the start of evening for you.
Yeah, it's literally 5:00 and it's dark out. It's pitch black, so not too fun, but we'll deal with it for the winter.
Is that weird to you, the fact that it gets dark so early and it's like totally no lights, pitch black, no glimmer of sunlight?
Yeah, it's weird because when I used to work in an office, when in my office that I'm still working with the same company, I'd just leave every day and during the winter it'd be pitch black and I got used to it. And now it's like I'm working from home and I see the sun setting. I'm like, oh, I could go outside, but I'm working till 5, so I can't really. And so it's like, yeah, it's just a weird concept. I don't even get to be outdoors at all during the week.
It is strange because you lose the whole day, and then when it's complete nighttime, when you get out of work for the day, it's like, oh, I feel like I missed my life today. I just was working for this company. Yeah. I don't know what happened.
I know. Yeah. It's like if I get out at lunch for a walk, it's like amazing. I'm like, wow, this is what people see. Like, this is a normal thing. Yeah. I'm not experiencing this. So I definitely miss, I should probably go on some more afternoon walks and, take advantage of that.
Yeah. I feel like you have to break up your work day a little bit because otherwise I think working from home, we tend, I know I do, tend to work too much. So it's like I'm really in my headspace and I'm missing sunlight, vitamin D, happiness outside my window.
The feeling of fulfillment after a day is done. We just don't get that anymore.
No, it's been taken from us.
Yeah. Not to negate at all the fact that I'm grateful for remote work, but yeah.
Yeah, grateful, but you're allowed to complain on this podcast, so feel free to.
Okay, great. That's like my therapy session, so it's great.
Yeah, that's what we're here for. Are you in therapy right now in the present day?
Yeah, so I see my therapist every week. We use like her, doctor video chats or whatever they're called. And so we talk either that or on the phone every week. And I've been seeing her for about like 4 years or 5 years. And I was actually even before COVID, I was mostly just talking to her on the phone and sometimes FaceTime because I was just getting really busy and she's like an hour away. So that was a long answer to your question.
Yeah, no, it's helpful because I wonder how people are doing therapy in the time of COVID, like if they're sticking with it. And I feel like most people are doing virtual sessions too. So do you think it's helpful, like equally helpful to do a phone call or a FaceTime?
Yeah, I guess I got so used to doing the phone calls and the occasional FaceTime before COVID that it seems kind of the same to me now. I mean, it's always nice to go in person and you get that feeling. It's just a different feeling when you go in person. It's much more like powerful and can be more, I don't know, real. But at the same time, it's when you're on the phone, it's kind of like you're blocking out all the visual stimulus and you're just focusing on the words that you're saying. So it kind of like makes it more on your shoulders to like take the messages in. I can't explain it very well. I don't know if that was a good explanation, but
yeah, no, I get it. Cause I've done like one phone call with a therapist once and I was like, this is good, but yeah, it's kind of feels like you're missing a part of it.
Yeah, there's definitely that piece that's missing. But I guess, we have the FaceTime. We have like her Doxy and VC. They're like these apps that therapists use. So those have been good.
It's hard too because we're probably, I don't know if you're getting more tired of like FaceTime in general. Like it's like, oh, do I have to keep my eyes open for another conversation?
I know. I'm getting Zoom fatigue. Like I've been getting it for months, probably since like May.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I guess it's different with her because I don't know. It just because like she pays attention really well, so like it makes me very engaged. I don't know. It's probably different for different people, but it's better than just a FaceTime chat. It's like different.
Yeah, that's good. I'm glad she's a good therapist.
Yeah, I definitely lucked out finding her. I had some pretty weird therapists before this.
Yeah, it's hard to find someone you trust who can like do the long-term therapy relationship with.
Yeah, definitely. She definitely like calls me out on, not because this doesn't call me out. I feel like a lot of people say that term. I don't think she calls me out, but like she will rebuke my sometimes thoughts that she doesn't agree with, and for rightfully so. Yeah, there are just so many different things. So I'm very happy with it.
How did you find this therapist?
Actually, so it's through a family friend's friend. Okay, so it's my stepdad's brother's wife's colleague.
Okay.
So
but she's not related to you.
Not related to me, not related to even my stepdad's brother's wife, but they're just friends. So it's a friend of my step aunt, I guess.
Okay.
They like went
it's
to
like
I think they
complicated lineage.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a 6 what is that? 6 degrees of separation with Kevin Bacon, whatever kind of thing. So
I think so.
That kind of situation.
So she was like recommended to you through a family member's friend's colleague.
Yeah,
something
she
like
was recommended. Yeah, I was. It's funny because like I actually was seeing this therapist that I don't know. He was good for the time. He was kind of like a grandpa for me. Like he would just tell me funny jokes and like, like he kind of just like entertained me and would be like, "Oh, you're not really having any issues, are you? That's just like in your past." Like he was weird, but yeah, I actually saw an episode of. Did you ever see Lost from back in the day?
No, I haven't watched Lost.
You said you haven't watched it?
No, I should watch it. Haven't seen it.
Yeah, I mean, I saw it like years after. This was like 2016 or so. I watched it. And it was probably aired in like 2008. But I watched it, and there was like a scene where I'm not like giving anything away, so there's no spoilers. But this one,
it's been out for so long, I can't make
you
keep spoilers.
I think we're past that. It's like, yeah, but so there was this one woman who was like severely traumatized and was like hallucinating, and there was a doctor who was on the island with them, and he sat her down and very calmly was like, "Look, you're having hallucinations. This is a normal reaction to like what you've gone through. You need to get some help for this. Talk about your feelings and get help because you're having some issues." And that kind of like just that one moment of it's literally probably like a 30-second scene, but it like stuck with me for some reason. It was like made me feel like because we'll probably talk about my diagnosis later, schizoaffective, but it made me feel like, yeah, this is just like a diagnosis because of something happening in my brain. Like I should probably get better help than what I'm getting now.
Yeah.
So that, yeah, it's silly, but that's kind of how that's what inspired me to get a better therapist than just the regular.
That episode of Lost inspired you?
It did, sadly.
That's interesting because I didn't plan to talk about it today, but I've been thinking more about like how therapy is portrayed in television or the media in general, and the way we see people going to like a psychologist or a therapist on TV. That's how we like imagine it'll happen in real life, and then it does hopefully motivate you to go like chase that and pursue it for yourself. Yeah,
it's interesting. Like a lot of the what I mean, I don't know. I just have I guess I have some problems and some kind of feel some sort of way about like the way it's portrayed on media because like it's always so negative and so serious, and like that's important too. And like I talked to my therapist about my denial of negative emotions, but it's like you need some light, you need some like laughter, you need some. I don't know. Maybe I'm just like
you need a little bit of humor. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I feel like because you're in comedy, I'm in comedy. We both like think you have to make things accessible, otherwise people are not gonna seek them out for themselves.
Yeah. Just I don't know. I mean, there could be there's room for everything in therapy. There's room for sad moments and tears and heavy things, but then you can also like display it in a way that's not so serious. I guess what's that show with Larry David, Curb Your Enthusiasm? He kind of like shows a little humorous side to like his neuroses in therapy. So I guess that's one different portrayal of it. But
yeah, I feel like Larry David, his show is more like I I feel like he just comes off as an asshole most of the time, and he's like, I'm gonna keep living about my day, and
Yeah.
hopefully I get through Los Angeles as a famous rich person.
Yeah, it's really a weird show.
There's not a huge message to take away for me most of the time, but it's like a good lens that he gives us.
Yeah, he's a funny character, very neurotic, and sometimes it's like too much for me, but sometimes I can appreciate it. So
same. Yeah, sometimes I get too uncomfortable watching Curb, where I'm like, I don't need to put myself through this.
Yeah, it's like this feels like just all awkward, like a big awkward bubble, and you're like, why do you want to live like that? It's like it's just the way his brain works, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like the way I see therapy and TV, a lot of it's like the therapist is very serious, and then the patient is like going through some real shit and comes off as crazy because the serious therapist is like, don't you realize like your husband is abusing you, or like your boyfriend's cheating on you? Like she gives you like all these facts, and then the character who's the patient's like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like it's such a weird exaggerated like they make them seem so like not cohesive at all most of the time.
Yeah, it's always a challenge. It's like they're trying to get something out of you, like Good Will Hunting. I feel like I'm just referencing more and more shows and movies about anything, but
I'm thinking of like Insecure, Big Little Lies, like these very like stoic therapists and these like women going through real shit on the couch.
Yeah. I still haven't seen Insecure, and I really want to see it. I hear it's amazing. So.
Oh, it's so good. I'm behind. I should catch up, but it's a great series. One of the best I've seen recently.
I have to watch it.
Yeah, it's very funny, real shit. A lot of like relationship stuff that they deal with.
That's awesome. Yeah, I like that kind of thing. It seemed like it was real, but then also like had a silly side.
Yeah. And I feel like it's fine that we're indulging in TV talk because you're a creator and you have a web series, so it totally makes sense.
I guess because like I'm not used to watching so much like TV. I'm not a TV person, and I don't absorb that much content. It's more like Instagram or whatever. But like lately, I've just been like after work, I'm like, let's just watch TV for like 2 hours. I'm like, it's weird. It's so weird.
Yeah, I don't watch it. Like, I feel like I usually don't watch a lot of TV either, but living with my boyfriend in quarantine, he consumes a lot of TV, so I've been watching more TV with him and trying to watch shows together. But in my old life, I would watch, like, an episode a week of something good and be like, oh, that's plenty of television.
Yeah, oh my God,
Gotta get my sleep.
Honestly, like, nobody else understands that, like, I'm not a TV person, and, like, like you said, like, once a week is great, like, that's my catch up. But
yeah, I just don't have time for it, especially if I'm making my own stuff, if I'm making the podcast, if I'm trying to like work on something creative. How do I have time to like sit back and like focus on something for an hour uninterrupted?
Right. It's like it seems like a waste of time to me, but now it is really a waste of time that I'm spending all this time, but maybe I'm learning life lessons, who knows.
I think that's just how they keep us content as a culture. They're like, watch the TV.
Yeah, go pacify us, you know. It's like,
your life is great.
Yeah, exactly. Ugh, sad.
But no, love art. We should keep making TV.
Right. Yeah.
Let's talk about one more question about therapy. How do you pay for therapy?
So I used to pay when I went to that bad therapist that I was talking about before, that guy.
The grandpa?
The grandpa. I wish I could say his name because it's funny, but I won't. But come up with an alias. Like, what? Oh, the alias, like Doctor. I don't even want to go there because it's gonna sound really similar to what it is.
Okay.
But
Dr. Grandpa.
Dr. Grandpa. He was very affordable. Should I say numbers or should I stay away from numbers?
It's whatever you feel comfortable with. I was just wondering if you like pay out of pocket. I think you said you mostly pay out of pocket, or if you go through insurance.
Yeah, for him, I went through insurance, and it was like a reasonable amount a week, less than 50. It was probably like in the 30s a week. But the new therapist that I found is like, I don't know. She just doesn't take insurance for whatever reason, so I have to pay out of pocket, which really sucks. But she works with me, to like negotiate rate, and like it's doable. So I just pay for it myself, and takes up all my money.
Yeah.
Like I told you before.
Which sucks. I mean, I mostly have done that in the past too, paying out of pocket. I think because a lot of my first early therapists were like, you don't want this on your record. Like, you got to really think about, like, if you're paying with insurance. Like, I guess they, like, give the same spiel to everyone. But it scared me enough that I was like, I'll pay out of pocket. Okay.
That's so interesting. I didn't even consider that to be a reason to go out of pocket. She just doesn't take insurance because she just doesn't, I don't know why. Mm-hmm. But yeah.
I think it's more so like it could be a pre-existing condition and all that stuff. Although hopefully we're progressing away from that. But for now, that's like something to consider.
Yeah. That's kind of crazy. I never thought of that.
Yeah. For now, I've stopped worrying about it. But when I first started therapy, I was like, oh my God, what if I run for president? I don't want people to know all my history.
Well, like, didn't George Bush do like cocaine or something? So
I think every president, yeah. Every president's like, yeah, I've done cocaine.
Yeah, that's like the only acceptable. It's like you can smoke weed and drink and do cocaine, but like heroin, no. Like,
well, so far, but now that we've had Trump, who is like a sexual, what's it called?
Predator.
Violates women, sexual predator. He's the worst of the worst. So I think we could all do cocaine and more from now on.
Yeah, cocaine plus for presidents,
For sure. So I'm not worried about my history or whatever the doctor's trying to tell me.
Yeah.
And then you have a diagnosis of schizoaffective, correct?
Yeah. So should I talk about that?
Yeah, tell us. I don't know, like what is that for people who have never heard of it?
Yeah. So I'll just give you the spiel, but schizoaffective is a combination of schizophrenia and bipolar. For me, the manic type. I don't really. Sometimes I had gotten manic in the past. It's not huge for me, but I guess they have to give you one over the other, and I wasn't really depressed, so they gave me that.
Like they have to diagnose you as one?
I guess. I don't know. Maybe they don't, but they gave me that, so maybe I did get manic. I don't know. I don't really have a lot. It's more the hallucinations and stuff is what kind of was more in my bag of tricks.
More the elements of schizophrenia than bipolar.
Yeah, I did have some mood stuff, but I guess it's maybe a little easier to manage the mood stabilizing things with medication. So I don't know. I mean, maybe that's why it didn't affect me as much at post being diagnosed when. But yeah, I don't know. But so yeah, I was diagnosed in 2012. I was hospitalized. I didn't know what was going on. It was totally a crazy time in life. But basically what happened to me and the symptoms I had was that I would have hallucinations, like delusional thinking, meaning that, you think that people have like superpowers or the TV's talking to you or that people are like switching bodies in front of you, like shape-shifting. And then also there's like voices and what is the last one? I forgot. Oh, paranoia. There you go. Can't forget about that one.
Yeah, the increased paranoia that like someone's after you or like out to get you.
Yeah, or that like the Nazis are coming. I mean, I don't know. I'm Jewish, so I get those. Like a train goes by and you think of the Holocaust or something. It's
okay.
Crazy.
Where you're like thinking this train is out to get me. Like it's even though it's just a train running normally.
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, we'll talk more about my Lyme diagnosis later, I guess. We can talk about how the medication has been helping my schizoaffective. So it's less and less these days, which is amazing. But like I have a train that goes by my house. You might hear it during this talk. And like, I would rationally be like, okay, I know that's a train. I know it. It's just a train taking commuters to where they got to go. And then yet I would like have this like mind thought bubble that would be like a flashback almost to like a story that I've heard of the Holocaust or like someone getting round up in a train, and like it would feel very real, but like I knew it wasn't real. It's like a strange thing. It's very strange.
Yeah. Is that something that you experience like totally just going about your day, like you're sober, you're like healthy, and then you just would hallucinate?
Yeah, basically. There's things that like, there's the triggers of like if you watch a movie and there's like ghosts, then that could definitely trigger some thoughts. But yeah, it would just be like throughout the day, like especially a lot of times actually when I went to therapy, I'd get symptoms because it would be bringing up these conversations, and like normal day I don't think about stuff. I try to like block it out of my mind. So yeah, especially in therapy, I would get a lot of like hallucinations, like light hallucinations, like where the lights were so bright and it would just feel like a flash of light in my face. So that was always a challenge. But yeah, like there's a thing called illusions, and I would get a lot of those, and I still get them. It's kind of like when you look at the clouds. I don't know if you watched the web series, but like in the beginning, he was like, the doctor was like, illusions are basically like when people look at the clouds and they see like a dog or a funny character. Like I see that, but I see it without the clouds. It's like in the carpet or on the ceiling.
You're talking about your web series, Effectively Schizo.
Yeah, sorry, I should have introed it a little bit.
No, I rewatched the pilot episode actually, just to like put it fresh in my mind, and that's how it starts. It's with you and a psychiatrist. Yeah. And he's asking you like what your symptoms are. Yeah, and he says, well, give me an example of a hallucination, and then like I look at the door behind him. I said, well, that over there looks kind of like the face of a monkey, and he's like, well, that's actually not a hallucination because it's something that's physically there. Like there's an outline of an eyeball, and a mouth, but like only people that might have this disease might interpret it that way. So it's not like a ghost or something coming out of nowhere. It's more like, you're looking at the floor and you see the tiles and they kind of look like a face, but it like pops out. It pops out a little bit. And the correct term is illusion?
That's what he told me. So I don't. He said I was having illusions, so I call them like illusion attacks when I get a lot of illusions at once, and it's overwhelming.
Because it's confusing, because it sounds similar to a hallucination where you're seeing something that's not there, but I guess maybe a hallucination is more vivid or more like tangible in your mind.
Yeah, I guess the best way to describe it would be like when you're seeing something that is within, I don't know how to say this, but like it's in the air, but it's like literally none of it is physically present in your physical space. Yeah. But an illusion is something that if you pointed out to someone, they could understand and see what you're talking about.
More like a cloud shape or something.
Yeah. And sometimes it takes on a scary meaning, so that's what makes it an illusion rather than just like a person having a weird thought.
Yeah. It's like a Rorschach type of test.
Yeah, kind of like that. Yeah. So it can be a little weird when you get a lot of them, but it's.
When did you got diagnosed in 2012? How old were you then?
I was 23, I believe. Yeah.
Did it take?
So yeah, I was.
Was it like a dramatic diagnosis? Because didn't you mention like going to the hospital?
Yeah, it was very dramatic. I went into an ambulance to get into the. I mean, I was at my uncle's house in his lake house up in Massachusetts, and I took a bus back from I was having like crazy hallucinations and paranoia and delusional thinking the whole weekend, and I didn't know what was going on because I thought it was real. Because like, I guess when you are just going through life, you think it's kind of like a weird thought, but you think everything is real because you're going through it. Yeah. But like when something delusional happens to you, you also think it's real. You just
especially
continue.
It's in your mind. Like you're seeing this the whole time.
Yeah, and it makes perfect sense. It's like, of course, someone's sacrificing someone in the fire. That's like their name is like all of a sudden I would see people's names in the fire, and I would be like they're being sacrificed or it's something weird. Like it just I saw their names and it appeared that way, and it made perfect sense to me. So it's like, of course that's happening. And there's magic in the world. It kind of was like magical thinking, I guess you could say. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I'll just So a lot.
That's so weird. Sounds like a horror movie you're describing.
Honestly, yeah, it was. It's like honestly, this is what it is, like a horror movie, but you don't know it's a horror movie until you're out of it. Like, you think it's normal. You think everything is just weird, mm-hmm. but like. When you're out of it, you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that happened to me. Like, how did I go through that? How did that even make sense in my brain? But yeah, so I was at his house, and then I took a bus back to Jersey, and I ended up in New York, and I got off the bus in New York, and I thought, I don't know how deep we want to go into all these illusions and stuff, but
Yeah.
I thought that like the Israeli army was coming after me, and so I like got off the bus and I got lost in New York. Ended up following a guy.
You're alone this whole time? You were on that
I
bus
was alone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was on the bus alone, and I definitely shouldn't have been on the bus alone. I should have been in a hospital at the time, or just getting medicated. But I followed a guy back to. He didn't know I was following him, but I thought he was talking to me. This makes me sound absolutely crazy, but it really happened. I thought he was like talking to me through the way he was walking, and
I mean, it sounds very believable in New York City.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Like I thought he was like giving me codes, so I went back. I actually entered his building. I don't know how I got in. There were security guards, and I went. He didn't know I was even there. And then all of a sudden, he like opens his door, and I'm in the apartment hallway, and he just looks at me, and I said, I don't even remember what I said to him. I can't remember, but he just like closed the door on me, and then I was like, oh, I guess I should leave. But I still was like in that weird state of mind. So anyway, long story short, I went back home and my mom knew something was wrong with me. I was living with my mom at the time after college, and she took me to the hospital, and I had to get an ambulance over to the psych hospital. So.
And then diagnosis and medication after that.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Okay. I'm glad you made it back home to Jersey, you said?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
My mom had to pick me up from New York.
Okay.
Because I got lost and got scared.
Yeah, that's scary for sure. Especially because, like, if you're not super familiar with New York City, it can be overwhelming. Following a stranger into his building, probably not a great idea.
Such a bad idea. I haven't talked about this in maybe ever with anybody. So maybe my mom knew about it, but yeah.
It's not like it was nothing bad happened, but
thank God, no. Yeah, I mean, I gave my money away to this server at a restaurant. I gave him like $80 or $90 that I had because we won't go into that why I gave it to him, but
you lost $80 that day.
yeah, it was. I think it was my uncle's money that he gave me. That was the worst thing that happened. So all in all, nothing bad happened.
Okay, but you voluntarily gave it to him, so it could have been worse.
Yes, could have been much worse.
Yeah. When you were growing up, did you have any like signs that you might have this diagnosis, or like how was your childhood? Was it like weird from what you think a normal childhood would be, quote unquote normal?
Honestly, I'm gonna be really lame. My childhood was great.
That's awesome.
I had a very normal, loving, fun childhood. I guess things didn't get weird in my brain until I was about 18 when I went to college. I went to college at Florida State, but I lived in Spain my first year. So some people think the trauma of like living abroad kind of caused the symptoms to come out. But I had no issues with my past. That part, I loved it.
Why did you live in Spain for the first year? Because that seems unusual.
Yeah, it was unusual. It was a program at Florida State. I originally applied to Florida State for their film program. Didn't end up going to their film school, but I was looking at the school with my mom, and they had a study abroad table, and they basically asked me two questions. They're like, "Are you out of state, and are you an incoming freshman?" And I said yes to both of them. They're like, "We got this program where you can go abroad your first year for 11 months, like 12 or 11 months or whatever, and then get in-state Florida tuition." Which was super cheap, and I wanted to travel anyway. It wasn't the money that was making me do it. I traveled to Spain my first year and studied at their campus in Valencia.
That's hard to turn down when someone offers you that and you're like fresh out of high school.
Exactly. Yeah, it sounded like a dream.
So what, if you want to share, what trauma did you experience in Spain, or like what do you think brought out the schizoaffective?
Well, do you want me to talk about like the Lyme stuff? Because it kind of relates, but
yeah,
I guess
you have Lyme disease also. Whatever you feel like talking about.
Yeah, I mean, well, okay, so I got diagnosed with Lyme disease recently, and they basically have been telling me that I could have had Lyme since I was like 10 when I got bit by a tick. So they say like it can be dormant in your system for 10 years.
The East Coast is full of ticks.
Yeah, I would play in my backyard. We had like a lot of trees in the backyard. I would play in the grass. I would go into the forest with my friends and drank, whatever. So, yeah. So anyway, the Lyme thing has been like revolutionary in my mind, but I don't want to like negate the fact that I've had these, experiences that with mental illness, but
because Lyme,
so yeah,
the symptoms of Lyme have to do with like cognitive function, don't they?
Wait, say that again.
Doesn't Lyme disease like affect your cognitive function, or it affects like thinking clearly and brain fog and stuff like that?
Yeah, it can definitely, like a lot of people get brain fog on it. I didn't know that people could get schizophrenia with Lyme disease. I was unaware.
Oh, I didn't know that. They don't tell you anything about schizophrenia. They like give you a little blurb in health class. Psychology is like a chapter. They don't really delve into it.
Yeah, because it's kind of scary. I guess they don't want to like freak people out. I don't know why they don't talk about it. Well, I guess it's not as common as other things.
Yeah, because I was reading about schizoaffective and like the percentage of people overall, it's really low. But then also like, how do we know if no one's getting proper diagnosis?
Yeah, I mean, you can look at any homeless population, and there's going to be a greater chance of a lot of them having illnesses that are not taken care of because they got kicked out of their family's houses, or they developed it from like malnutrition. I don't even know what. That's a traumatic experience, being homeless. So there's a lot of people out there, yeah, that are undiagnosed. I mean, I was having problems from 18 to 23, and I wasn't diagnosed all those years. So
yeah,
but
those are kind of shitty years anyway, because you're like figuring out where you're going to be for college and like what your life is like and what your morals and ethics are. Like that's a big development year anyway, big development period.
Yeah, they say that I've heard this from friends, but like people who are over the age of 25 have less of a chance of going through like a psychotic break. So it's like once you get to 25, you're kind of in the clear, because it generally happens like from 18 to 25. Because I guess it is traumatic to be like ripped from your family home, and you just don't have that support that you always had.
Yeah. And you're not a full person until you're like 25. Like your brain is still developing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's yeah.
Cuz I know I did a semester abroad as a junior in college in England, and I remember choosing England cuz I was like, "Oh, it seems safe. Like I speak English. I feel like I won't have to learn a language, and it seems like the easiest option." And then I was like super depressed most of my time there just cuz I was away from home. And I never, like, missed my family so much. I was, like, totally thrown off with how homesick I was the whole time.
Yeah. It's weird, yeah, because I guess everyone is a little bit crazy to begin with, but I was a little more crazy to go to a place where I didn't even speak the language. That was, like, a normal crazy, I think, because, like, there's crazy, and then there's, like, acceptable crazy. But
yeah, you're just being young and optimistic and a little stupid. You're like, I could do this.
Yeah, I honestly didn't get. I think I got homesick one day out of the 11 months that I was there. I think on July 4th, because I really liked being with my family then. But I can understand. I don't know. I think I was just naive. That's why I didn't get scared. But I think that maybe the trauma of just, I don't know if it's trauma, but just like the experience of going abroad was just brought out like I don't know the word, not psychedelic, but just like fantasy kind of things in my mind that turned out to be kind of like sort of symptoms, like first level symptoms.
Because did you also go alone abroad, like you weren't there with friends or anyone you knew?
Yeah, there was only 4 freshmen there, and everyone else was like the juniors and seniors. So they had their friends already that they were coming in with, or they were already like established, and we were kind of like, yeah, we didn't really know what was going on.
Because it can be weird. When I was abroad, I made friends from the college I came from in New York, but then they were still like new people to me, so I still felt like very alone. I was living with British people, and they were all younger than me. They were freshmen. I was a junior. So I felt super isolated the whole time, even though I could have spoken English and made new friends and hung out with people from my college more, but I just didn't know what to do, and I felt like all I had was Netflix and the Russian literature I was assigned to read at the time.
Oh my gosh, Russian literature sounds interesting.
Yeah, it was not helpful.
I was gonna ask you a question. So why were why were they giving you like freshmen to live with? Why wouldn't they have? Doesn't that seem like, I don't know? That seems like isolating right there.
Yeah, it was weird because in England, everyone seems both younger, and I think they seemed younger just because they were freshmen, but they seemed also older because they had like been drinking alcohol for longer, so they could like start drinking their whiskey in the middle of the day and like continue into the night. And I was like, I don't know if I could like hang with you guys. And then there was a divide between age and also me not being good at like making new friends. I just felt like really alone in that dorm room. And I think they just stuck us there because they were like, oh, the freshmen live on campus. The international students should live on campus too. And there was no like upperclassmen really living on campus that we were like put into their buildings. We were just put with the new freshmen.
Yeah, that seems like a recipe for not good things. Just to like have that age difference, it just seems like, I don't know, that's difficult.
Yeah, I think if I had been a more developed person at the time, because I was also like 20, I could have just been like, it doesn't matter that kids are younger than me. I could have made friends, but I didn't have those tools at the time or like know enough. So I just retreated into my dorm room. Like, could have enjoyed England a lot more if I had like just left the dorm room more often.
Yeah, but you know, England's all rainy anyway, so.
Yeah, it was like whatever.
Yeah.
But you were fine in Spain for 11 months, and then you came home, and did you have like a feeling that something might be off about you, or did you feel normal?
I just thought I was evolving my who I was as a person, you know, I became very religious, but like not in a religious way, but in my own way.
Like very Jewish or very like spiritual?
Yeah. Like on the Jewish end, but I would just like read the Bible, and then like I would read like the Christian Bible and the Jewish Bible, like the Christian parts of it. I don't know, and I would just like, it wouldn't be a community religious thing. It was more like an internal religious thing.
Mm-hmm.
Some people say that, like, I know one woman whose son has like schizo something. She says every time my son is going through a relapse, he picks up the Bible and starts reading it. So a lot of people have like religious delusions. It's very common for whatever reason. I don't know why.
I guess it could be comforting that it's like an old story too. Like you know it a decent amount and you can always go back to it. It's not going to change.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it was. Maybe it's like, I don't know. It's a lot of like right and wrong, and that made sense to me at the time, and like ways to live, and I don't know if there's like a real reason why people who get psychosis often get religious like delusions. I don't know. It's an unknown. I've had doctors say they don't know why it happens either. So
in the web series, the pilot episode, there's a lot of like you running into people you know and telling them you have schizoaffective disorder. Do you do that in real life? Do you like come out to people as like having schizoaffective, or is there like a certain point in a friendship where you like tell people?
Yeah, it's mostly like it doesn't exactly happen how it did in the web series, but it's funny because the web series has been the cause of many people finding out that I have it.
I'm sure.
So it's in turn created that situation for me. But that actually happened when I ran into a friend at the psychiatrist's office. Like, I ran into her and I thought she worked there because I was like, well, she's a normal person. Why would she go to the psychiatrist? And I thought she was like a worker. And then she's like, oh yeah, I go here. I see Dr. So-and-so. So, yeah, it's just that paranoia first. It's like a normal paranoia. Like, oh my gosh, I'm seeing someone at the psychiatrist's office. So
yeah. Or in the web series, it's like a high school connection, or like someone you know from your hometown.
Yes. She that's not true. that was made up because I wanted to have like a someone that I could like grow with the series with, and I wanted us to have like I don't know why. I just felt like a high school friend would be fun to have to like rekindle that connection and like go on adventures together and stuff like that.
Yeah, because to me that's terrifying that someone from my hometown could like know more about me and then like know something so personal about me, even though like you said it's like gonna come out eventually, especially if I'm pursuing entertainment. But then like the visual of seeing someone in a psychiatrist's office. I'm like, oh no. It made me nervous.
Sorry, I didn't intend on doing like a full-fledged Curb Your Enthusiasm moment. But
no, it's good to make people feel something.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I don't know.
But now
fortunately,
you tell your close friends, you were saying.
Yeah, I've like had to come out to them exactly like you said. Like I had to be like, I have this illness and I haven't told you about it for years. Like, it's like, wow. Some of my friends are like, I had no idea. And it's like, that's nice of them, it's like sweet. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, I've had it. I've been struggling with it and it's not anything that bad.
Yeah, it's also not widely known what it is. Like, I've had one friend tell me they're schizoaffective and I was like, oh, whatever. Like, hope you're getting help. Like, I didn't know what to make of it. But yeah. I think to them it was like a big thing to get off their chest. They were like, I don't know how people are going to take this.
Yes, so exactly.
You worry about the connotations probably.
Yeah, it's like, are people going to think I'm some crazy person that like belongs in like a mental institute? Like, are they going to treat me any differently? For all of my friends, actually, the answer was no. They treated me the same. Yeah. But I think some people, the initial shock was kind of like, oh, that's kind of weird that you have that. Some people, not all.
Yeah. But I think overall it makes you a bigger person to be like honest about it and also tell people like I'm on a trajectory to like learning how to manage it. Whereas a lot of other people might not be that kind of person.
I guess, yeah, it's taken me a long time. There's many therapy sessions I've had with my current therapist of like, I don't want to have this. I wish I didn't have it. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want anyone to know. Like, nobody can know. Now I'm like telling everybody. So, I don't know. It's a full circle, I guess.
It's good because you're normalizing it.
That's what we're hoping to do. So,
did anything weird happen that day when you got the diagnosis, like at your uncle's house?
I'm trying to think. I was in the hospital overnight at the regular hospital, and then they were giving my parents some. They said something like, it sounds like you have, I forget what they said, something like psychosis and you're having delusional thought processes. And I was so out of it that I didn't know what was going on. I thought that they were telling me I had like magical powers.
Yeah.
So it didn't click in until like probably a month later when I was out of the hospital.
Mm-hmm. So it's probably like your memory's not clear at that time anyway.
Definitely, yeah. And that was just probably I was so drugged up and I don't know. One night, and there's like crazy things that happen. Like I don't even know what's true and what's not sometimes because I know for sure one night, and I don't want to like, this could be like a trigger warning of like trauma or whatever, but I was like in bed in a mental hospital and a bunch of people, like big men, came in and held me down and shot me with something. Mm-hmm. I don't know what it was, but I was like freaking out and it was like so traumatic to have that experience. But like now I'd like that I think about it, I'm like, well, was I doing something wrong? Was I pacing in the hallways? Was I screaming? I don't know. I don't remember, but
like you just remember that people like shooting you up with something.
Yeah, I think they like shot me in the butt. Like I think I had to turn over. They turned me over or something and held me down my legs. It was like really horrible, but I don't want to like minimize it, but I also, maybe there was a reason, but that's probably not the best way to go about it with someone who's not in the right state of mind.
Yeah, hopefully there's a reason. I'm hoping they weren't just like doing that as a routine thing.
Right. They just wanted to like give me a vaccine.
It's scary. It's scary to not have that memory of like why or no one was there with you to like know.
Yeah, there was a roommate, but there's no chance I know who that person is.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm sure it's just like a weird like flashback to go back to now, but I'm sure like you were saying there was a reason for it if you were in a good hospital.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it was a good hospital, I don't know. but
the best available.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. They didn't have a lot of beds for some of them, but whatever. I don't know. I feel like I'm talking a lot about my trauma parts of the experience. I can curb that a little bit if we want.
Well, I was just asking you like how did it all start? So I will take away the trauma part as best I can.
No, it's okay. I don't mind.
What made you decide to make a web series in the first place?
I guess for a while I'd been wanting to do like I was in film, like film and TV kind of related stuff in high school, and I kind of wanted to get back into it after um, college, and after I was started to get back into it in my career, like at my job. I was transitioning from like customer service into like helping them with their media department, but I wanted to do something on my own, and I wanted to like I had this kind of vision of like doing shorts, like I guess like maybe 2 to 5 minute short web series about like just making fun of people who had mental illnesses. Like I don't know, I thought it would be a fun way to bring it out and and something interesting people might could learn from. But then I brought the idea to my friend who's like he's like a film director in Asbury, New Jersey, and he was like, write the script, like do it, like start it up. And so it became more of um, a longer process. Like it was like the first episode is like 19 minutes long. So
Yeah.
it transformed, I guess you could say.
And then you put that out last year, was it?
Yeah, last November was the release. November 20th, I think we released it at a small indie theater in Jersey.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
And then you were saying production's kind of been stalled because of COVID.
Yeah, we were on our way to shoot in May of last year, of 2020, for our second episode. You know, we had all the actors ready, the script ready. We just had to nail down a few of the locations. Just needed like specific dates, but yeah, we were all ready to do it, and then COVID hit. So we've been doing some online stuff like Zoom chats, like recorded Zoom chats, and like kind of web series stuff on Zoom. So
Working with what you can with the Zoom world we're in.
Exactly.
Let's talk about the Lyme disease, because Lyme disease is more of a recent diagnosis, and you said you were first probably bit by a tick when you were 10. So what's been the trajectory of like you finding out you have Lyme and trying to get better from that?
Yeah, I found out I was diagnosed in February of 2020, so literally right before the pandemic hit. Um, I was bit by many ticks over the years. I remember the first one was on my arm or something, but then I had one on my head that I remember when I was like scratching, I felt something moving. Disgusting.
Oh, no.
But so I've had so many ticks over the years. Who knows how many I've had? They gave me the regular Western blot test, and I came back negative, even though I got the bullseye rash, which is like indicative of having Lyme. The doctor said I didn't have Lyme, so we just kind of went forward thinking I didn't have it. And funny enough, I think the same way we met, which was Instagram.
Yeah.
Yeah. Funny enough, a girl on Instagram direct messaged me and was like, she's like, I saw your web series. She saw a post that I had written about my story, and she's like, I think you might have Lyme disease because it sounds very similar to my story, like a very normal childhood, and all of a sudden you just get crazy. And I was like, that sounds cool, but I can't really, like, she told me to get tested at this place in California. It's called iGenix.
I wonder
it's like
why California.
What'd you say?
Why California? Because I feel like I live in California, and when I thought I had Lyme disease after getting the bullseye rash last year, my doctor was like, I don't know anything about this. Go to New York and find out.
Yeah, you know what? I don't know. I think it's because they are a specific lab that deals with, I don't know why they're in California. They should be in New York on the East Coast. But yeah, I don't know why. They just a specialized Lyme testing center in California called iGenix, IGENEX, if anyone wants to look them up. And anyway, they're very expensive. So I was like, I'm probably not going to go forward with this because I'm not just going to spend $700 on a hope or a wish. And it's not really a hope or a wish. It's a disease that you don't really want to have either.
Yeah, $700 for like the basic lab test to get diagnosed.
Yeah, basic Lyme, but it's called the Immunoblot IgG and Immunoblot IgM. I don't know what that means. I just know that it's one of the tests that is a little bit more in depth than the Western blot test that they give you at like your general practitioner's office. So yeah, this girl just found me, and she told me that her mom had a nonprofit for people to fund people who were like me, and I was like, that is awesome. So I applied and I got the funding. So I just got tested. I went and got my blood and sent it off to California. And then February, like about a couple weeks later, my doctor called and was like, you have Lyme. And I was like, oh my God.
It seems almost like too good to be true that girl messaged you. Her mom had a nonprofit. Like, it doesn't seem like it could have been a scam.
Yes. Yeah, I was very skeptical at first. I was like, this sounds crazy. And I don't know how I feel about this, but, yeah, it does sound too good to be true. It sounds like a fairy tale of like, oh, you have this horrible disease and then you find out it's something else and then you can get it cured. Like, what a wonderful thing. But, and it is wonderful. And some days I've been very cheesy lately, like in my mind, like, like I just feel very grateful. And that's not that I had never felt grateful, but I'm having a relief from the psychotic symptoms. So I'm just feeling so happy about that.
Yeah. That's good. You should like latch onto that, and I would write it down somewhere and be like, I'm grateful for this today. And when you feel more shitty, you could go back to that. Be like, oh, I was grateful on December 13th.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I want to talk about Lyme disease in the next episodes of the web series, because I want to kind of chronicle my story that can help people. So
yeah. What relief are you finding, like, now that you have medication for it? As it, like, are symptoms getting better?
Yeah, thank God. I mean, I was hesitant to talk about this because I'm in the middle of treatment, so I don't know where it's gonna go. But I've, like, the first couple of months, I really noticed like the voices in my head just like vanished. Like, it was like, wow, this is amazing. I didn't know what it was like to not have them until I didn't have them, and it was really very profound. I'm starting to notice less paranoia, just overall maybe clearer thinking overall, I guess you could say. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
Do you feel comfortable telling us like what medication is helping you, or if you don't, that's fine?
For the Lyme, you mean?
Yeah, for the Lyme, or I don't know, anything that's been really helpful.
Yeah, so for the Lyme, I've been on antibiotics. So it's just, that's what treats the Lyme mostly for now, at least. That's where we are. I've been on antibiotics since February, so however many months that is. So that's been great. But I would not recommend just asking your doctor for antibiotics if you don't know what you have. But that's but then I also take like a lot of medications for the mental health stuff. I don't want to, I'm like hesitant to say the main medication I take because I think people might get false hope from it. Like, oh, yeah, it'll work for me if it worked for you. But I take a lot of stuff. Like NAC is one of the things I take. I think that's just a normal vitamin that helps people with their thinking.
What's it called?
It's N is in Nancy, A is in apple, C is in cat, NAC. It's called like N-acetylcysteine. Yeah,
okay.
It's something that helps like cognitively.
And you were saying with the schizoaffective, it's been more of like trial and error, which it is for a lot of mental illness. You need medication for it. It's been more like, we don't know if this will work. We're going to try it. And then kind of like, you know, one step forward, one step back until you find something that's actually like clicking for you.
Yeah. Yep. I took a lot of medications in the beginning when I was in the hospital. And eventually what made me kind of stabilize was just getting bombarded with like a lot of medications at the same time, and it kind of like slowed my brain down. So,
but that helped.
Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
it didn't help at the time, but it helped me become like numb to everything, so I wasn't psychotic, and then it got me to a place where I could be normal again and like function. But the doctors explain it like you have to slow your brain down because it's going too fast.
Yeah, like sedate it a little bit.
Yeah, it's not a good place to be, but that was, 8 years ago. So had more success with just like other drugs, like antipsychotics and stuff. So,
were you like upset that you got diagnosed so late after like probably getting bitten when you were 10?
Yep. pretty pissed, but also gonna be cheesy and just be like, well, plenty of people never find out they have Lyme disease maybe, and they just live their lives thinking they're imbalanced, in their brain, and they have to take antipsychotics for the rest of their lives. I think it's horrible. So
Yeah.
I'm pissed, and I'm also happy. So.
Do you think you just got bit in your backyard or something?
Where I got bit?
Yeah.
Yeah, the first time I think I had just been outside playing in the backyard. I think the one on my head was also playing in the backyard. We had like, it wasn't a forest, it was like landscaped trees.
Yeah.
but apparently ticks live there too. So.
Well, I hear people getting Lyme disease in my own like circle from Long Island or from like upstate New York. So I feel like it's all over that coast, especially like woodsy areas.
Definitely, yeah, it is. I'm finding more people who are telling me they have Lyme. Also, the more I talk about it, so it's not a fun thing to have for a lot of people, but for me, it gave me answers. So.
Yeah, and it's another hard thing to realize you have and diagnose. So you're living with two like hard to diagnose things, but luckily you're like getting help for both of them.
Yes, yeah, they're both kind of like unknown in some ways.
Yeah, there's still so much to learn about them.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I think I'm done with my trauma questions. Do you want to spin the roulette wheel?
So yeah, explain it to me.
It's just to make this more of like a game type thing. I put a couple random phrases on here, and then we'll spin it and see what you get.
Sounds great. Ready?
Okay. I landed on obsessed. What are you obsessed with lately?
Ooh, that's weird. Like obsessed with in a good way, obsessed with in a bad way, just in general.
It's up for interpretation.
Up for interpretation. Okay. Okay, here's one. I am definitely obsessed with Abby Jacobson from Broad City, and also Alana. Did you watch Broad City?
Yeah, I love both of them. I have Abby's book over there.
Oh yeah, I have it. Also, yeah, it's right there. What is it called? Like something I'll regret this. I might regret this.
I think it's I Might Regret This by Abby Jacobson.
Yeah, she's just like, oh, I love her. But
Alana too. I think Alana's like so. I admire her like being politically out there, and also she's a great stand-up, and they're both brilliant.
Yes, totally agree. I just love them too, together and separate, whatever. I think that's what inspired me to really go after the web series, because I watched a video, another video reference. Here I go. I watched a video of them getting the two of them getting interviewed by Katie Couric, I think. Or no, was it Amy Poehler? No, it was Katie Couric. And she asked them how they met, and they were like, yeah, we went to UCB. And I was like, what's the UCB? And I never had heard of it. And so I ended up looking it up that night, and like, I think maybe that night or a week later, enrolling in a sketch class. And I don't know, it kind of gave me validation that these people that just were starting out like did something on their own, and I found that really admirable.
Yeah, they really blew up because of like the web series they were putting out. Mostly, I think, on guerrilla like funding themselves until Amy Poehler joined, but they were just doing it themselves for a while.
Yeah, I've seen some of their original episodes. I don't know. Have you seen the ones from like before Amy Poehler joined? Like they were just like on a
just a couple of them.
Same, yeah. Whatever they had on YouTube, I saw it was like really old, and like they were like the quality of the camera was like really bad, it was like very fuzzy, but it was funny. Like,
I wouldn't even say it's bad. It's just like clearly there's no budget. Like they're just filming it on their own. Yeah,
it was cool. I like that. That's kind of I don't know. I think it's cool that they just went out and did it.
Mm-hmm. And it's still like the humor's there, and there's a story there. They were like, this is what we're doing. We're gonna put it online.
Yeah. I've found out afterwards that for UCB they like didn't make one of the I forget what they're called, like the Herald teams or something like that.
Yeah,
there's all this
the team that's like scheduled to perform all the time.
Yeah, they like at least Abby didn't. I've heard that she didn't make it, and she was really upset. And then like her father afterwards was like, aren't you glad they didn't pick you for that? Because you would have like invested your time in that. It's true, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they weren't selected for UCB's cream of the crop, but then they're, killing it on their own.
Yeah, exactly. That it can be like competitive at UCB, I think, it's a good environment, but it could also be like kind of cutthroat, like, oh, who's gonna make it and who's not. I'm not at that level yet. I'm only in the 201, the second or third level out of like 4.
There's just so many people pursuing comedy that it's like, there's a lot of people in the market.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I think it's like it's been fun to just do it on my own, because like we just control what we do and we're not waiting for someone to give us the okay that we can do it. It's like if it's a flop, then it's our fault, but at least we're doing it.
Yeah. I feel like that's the way to do it. So keep going.
Thanks.
Anything else about Abby in particular before we could spin again?
I just have a huge crush on her, so
she's
so that
like,
is all.
Yeah, she's I don't know, definitely admirable, the two of them.
You think she's more abnormal?
No, admirable. I admire both of them.
Admiral.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought you said abnormal. I was like, I think Alana's more abnormal.
In the series, I think Alana's more abnormal, but then the two of them, I'm sure, are like super strange.
Yeah.
in daily life, like just you can tell from their friendship, the stuff they're putting out.
Yeah, they're definitely the good kind of weirdos, it seems like.
Yeah. That's awesome. Let's spin one more time.
Okay.
Okay, a memory from childhood. Good,
Ooh.
bad, anything that you would like to share with the podcast?
Let's see. I guess maybe I've just been having these memories recently about like when I learned to play guitar, and I would like write these like really emo songs in my journal, like poems, and like about my friendships, or if they were like ending, or relationships or crushes I had, and then I would like play. They were horrible. They were they were not good. But
your guitar songs?
I don't. This is just. I'm just also popping into my head is that remember when like Eminem, like 8 Mile was like a thing?
Yeah.
And like people would like rap freestyle with each other. I don't know if you did that. I don't know.
I did not. I think I never got into rapping freestyle, but I know like Eminem was hugely popular. I mean, I watched his music and videos and stuff.
Yeah. So I remember like we like kind of like, this is a horrible reference, but Stephen Lynch was a musician, and I thought he was so funny at the time. He's a horrible person. But not horrible. He just makes jokes that are not funny. But I used to love him. And we used to just play guitar and like make up songs, and then like make up these like words about things. I don't know. It was like a whole like freestyle type of guitar playing. I don't know. So that's a random memory. I don't know why that's popping in my head, but it is.
Who's Stephen Lynch? I don't know him.
You don't know? Yeah, it's probably best that you don't. He would make fun of like it's really terrible. Like he would make fun of he has a song called Special Olympics. Like it's just I can't believe I ever listened to that. So.
But then yeah, people were making fun of stuff like that back in the day, or like on South Park and stuff like that. So it's like, who can you really blame if everyone was doing it? It sucks, but as a culture we were not evolved.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, it's just, I guess it was a sign of the time. That's not an excuse. I think that I don't know. Touchy subject, I guess.
Yes. I want to ask you one more question. I don't know if the wheel will land on it, so I just want to ask you. So you're Jewish. You celebrate Hanukkah?
Yes.
Okay, so who is like the equivalent to Santa Claus? Is it Moses or?
So
is there an equivalent?
Harry the Hanukkah man.
Harry the Hanukkah man. Okay.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I'm slightly kidding about that. That's like a kind of joke, but kind of serious.
We can roll with it. I want to ask you this question my producer came up with. So you're a bartender, and Harry the Hanukkah man, or Moses, or someone of the Jewish faith comes into the bar after delivering all of his Hanukkah gifts. What drink are you gonna make him?
Oh, I'm gonna make Harry the Hanukkah man. Maybe like a hot toddy with like I don't know if you could put whipped cream on that, but I feel like he would be into whipped cream. And then And then maybe the tea goes along with it because Jewish people like tea. I don't know if that's a thing. Maybe I'm just saying that.
I mean, you're Jewish. You could definitely at least assume.
Yeah. So maybe I'd make him that, or maybe I'd just go crazy because he's kind of weird already and make him like a spicy margarita. I don't know.
Maybe like one, and then when he comes for the round, second round, spicy margarita.
Yeah, yeah. I just feel like we could bond over that.
I think that's a good order. I don't know if he's lactose intolerant, but hot toddy with whipped cream.
Yeah, he might be. So maybe I can give him like, some cherries in it or something.
Something to dilute that.
Yeah, that's a funny question though.
She was like messaging me, my producer. She's like, I came up with this in the middle of the night. I think we should put it on the wheel. So I wanted you to get at least one chance to answer it.
That's awesome.
But yeah, we're at the end, Jamie. So tell us where to find the web series, how to find you online, anything you want to promote.
Yeah, so you can find us on Instagram at effectively schizo. Effectively is with an E. And then you can find us on Facebook at Effectively Schizo. We're even on LinkedIn and Twitter on Effectively Schizo.
Oh, damn.
Twitter is Schizo series, actually.
Okay.
But LinkedIn is the same. And then you can also, if you want to find out like more about the history of why we're doing what we're doing and how it plays into stereotypes and how we're trying to get rid of that and bring awareness, you can go to www.effectivelyschizo.com. And that is our GoFundMe page, and you can donate if you want, but the more so our story is on there, and it brings you to our rip reel, which is a video about why we're doing what we're doing, and you can look at and see a little background of the pilot episode that we filmed.
That's cool. I definitely recommend you check it out and watch Effectively Schizo, the pilot episode, on YouTube.
Yeah, definitely. Yes, we have a lot of videos on YouTube, and the pilot episode is there as well. So we are Effectively Schizo also on YouTube. So find us there.
Well, thanks so much. It's been a true joy talking with you.
Yes, this has been awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course.